Coming up tonight on YCN News, the Arrowhead Recreation Area in Claremont, New Hampshire holds a successful cardboard sled race. Details of a murder-suicide involving a 74-year-old man and a 43-year-old University of New Hampshire lecturer continue to unfold. And we'll learn why fans of Franconia, New Hampshire world-class and Olympic skier Bode Miller are cheering today. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening, and welcome to this Monday edition of YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. The Vermont congressional delegation wants President Obama to limit exports of propane to reduce home heating fuel costs for local residents. U.S. Senators Patrick Leahy and Bernie Sanders joined Congressman Peter Welch in an appeal to U.S. Commerce Secretary Penny Pritzker. The three men want Pritzker to use her office's emergency powers to halt exports of propane beyond the nation. In a letter the trio sent to Pritzker, they note the spike in propane costs over a year ago. With limited availability in the states for propane and the need great during this especially cold and snowy winter, propane costs are rising. Now, a gallon of propane to heat homes is 60% higher than last year at this time. In the last 3 months alone in Vermont, propane has risen 30%. Across Vermont, the average price for a gallon of propane is $4.39. Leahy, Sanders, and Welch note that 15% of all Vermont homes are heated with propane. In Vermont, more homes are heated with propane than in the other 5 New England states. Also, Vermont ranks as the second highest state with propane being used to heat one's home or residence. The delegation's letter to Pritzker said it was not an exaggeration to say some families are choosing between heating their homes or buying groceries. Under the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, the Commerce Department can prohibit or curtail exporting goods to protect the stateside or domestic economy. Welch, Leahy, and Sanders agree that the current cost of propane for Americans warrants this urgent and decisive action. This weekend, the Arrowhead Recreation Area in Claremont, New Hampshire held its 7th annual cardboard sled race. Snow fell as the groups gathered and placed their sleds out to be judged. Over 50 participants came to compete with unique and creative sled designs ranging from a spaceship to a giant pink breast cancer ribbon, all made from cardboard. I joined my friend from the Claremont restaurant Simply Comfort in a cardboard toaster. After the judges took a look at each sled, the team started a long hike up the slope where we would all sled down. The fresh snow made for a rough ride down, giving some sleds less stamina than expected. By the end of the race, every sled had made it to the bottom, and the numerous awards were announced, from fastest sled time to the best crash. Congratulations to all of the winners and all who came out to support the event. It was most definitely a memorable day for all. On another New Hampshire note, details of a murder-suicide involving a 74-year-old man and a 43-year-old University of New Hampshire English department lecturer continue to unfold. Durham, New Hampshire resident and UNH teacher Eric Paul Engle killed himself in Dunedin, Florida Friday night, the Associated Press reports. A police SWAT team in Marion County, Florida surrounded the Dunedin, Florida resort where Engle was staying. Engle was wanted for questioning in connection with the Friday morning murder of Alexander Wysocki in Cary, North Carolina. Police tried to persuade Engle to come out of the hotel. Engle did not. Police say Engle shot himself. Wysocki's body was found in a yard in Cary. He was taken to Duke University Medical Center where he was pronounced dead. The AP reports that Engle had worked in UNH's communications department since the end of August 2013. Cary, North Carolina, Police Captain Don Hamilton told the AP that no other person is believed to have been involved with Wysocki's death other than Engle. When YCN News returns, we'll hear why fans of Franconia, New Hampshire world-class and Olympic skier Bode Miller are cheering today. And we'll talk about the Harris Hill ski jump competition that went on this weekend.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. February is the birth month for the 1st and 16th Presidents of the United States, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, respectively. Many other residents, in ways large and small, shaped our country as we know it today. This includes Plymouth Notch, Vermont native and 30th President Calvin Coolidge. YCN News' Dan Carbonera produced today's special segment on Coolidge's legacy.
My name is William Jenny. I'm the Regional Historic Site Administrator for the Vermont Division for Historic Preservation, and I'd like to welcome you to Plymouth Notch, the birthplace and boyhood home of President Calvin Coolidge. This is regarded as one of the best preserved presidential sites in the country. In the historic village, we have not only the Coolidge birthplace, but the Coolidge Homestead, another building, and that's the one he was actually raised in and where he was sworn in as president on August 3rd, 1923. And that event brought this little village to instant fame. Literally thousands of people started coming here almost every day to check it out. And in fact, the next summer when Coolidge had his summer White House here, a reporter counted between 4,000 and 5,000 cars parked out here in the field where our parking area is now. And these 29 residents realized they had a very good thing going. Why change anything? And so gradually everything was preserved, and so folks can now see the village as it was in Coolidge's time. This is our permanent exhibit in here, which we call More Than Two Words, the Life and Legacy of Calvin Coolidge. We have a lot of very fun elements in here, very interactive, great for families, and so we have flip books and narration monitors, and where you can ask Calvin Coolidge a question and he responds.
When I became president, I thought that I would find those press conferences something of a bore and not particularly pleasant.
And in here we also feature some of the presidential gifts of state, because this is a collection not only of the early Vermont things, but we have most of the items that were given to the Coolidges during the White House years. And so he was brought to national attention with his handling of the Boston police strike in 1919 as governor, and that reason he was put on the Republican ticket with Warren Harding. So he was vice president before, of course, he became president, and he became president in August of 1923. He was kind of fortunate to be president when he was. It was one of the most prosperous periods of American history, the so-called Roaring Twenties, and most Americans were doing very well economically. It was a flowering of American literature and art. Well, Vice President Coolidge happened to be up here visiting his family when word came that President Harding had died. And there was only one telephone in town at that point, and it was in the general store. And so they were ringing that phone from Washington, but the storekeeper had gone to bed and didn't answer the phone. So finally they got a hold of someone up in nearby Bridgewater, Vermont, about 6 miles north of here, and someone came down in a car to the Coolidge homestead, knocked on the door, and Calvin's father answered it, and he was delivered the news that Harding had died. And so Calvin's father was the first one to address Calvin as President of the United States. There were some reporters on the scene, so when the word came that Harding had indeed died, most of them went off to Woodstock to file the story, little knowing that the bigger story was to happen at 2:47 in the morning, just a couple of hours later. And there was a lone reporter from Springfield, Vermont, who was here, and he scooped all the top newspapermen in the country with the story of the actual swearing in. They had called Washington, D.C., and the Attorney General had given the go-ahead that he should be sworn in immediately. The only available official happened to be Calvin's father, who did it in his capacity as a notary public. Calvin Coolidge's famous nickname is Silent Cal, but that's pretty much a misnomer when you get into a study of the man. He was quite talkative if you got him on the right subjects. In fact, he gave more speeches than all 29 presidents before him, and he averaged 2 press conferences a week, which is more than any president has done. Someone calculated he said more than 8,000 words a month on the radio alone. So you can see that he could go on, but he was not into the dinner party chit-chat scene. And so he cultivated that to some extent is all part of the Coolidge mystique, so to speak. And there is a famous story that we believe is true. As Vice President Coolidge, he was once seated next to a woman at a dinner party, and she told him that she had a bet with someone that she could get him to say more than 2 words during the dinner, and his response was, "You lose." Please visit us on our website for further information. It's historicsites.vermont.gov/Coolidge. And you can also visit the Calvin Coolidge Memorial's website, and they are calvin-coolidge.org.
Thanks, Dan. Meanwhile, fans of Franconia, New Hampshire world-class and Olympic skier Bode Miller are cheering north of the notches today. Miller claimed a bronze medal this weekend in the Super G race at the Sochi, Russia Olympic Games. Miller now holds the most medals among U.S. alpine skiers for both men and overall. With winter sports in mind, participants tested their skills this weekend during the Harris Hill ski jump competition. Contestants skied down the slope and into the air, all part of the 92-year tradition at the Brattleboro site. The Fred Harris Memorial Tournament features 2 different competitions.
We are in Brattleboro, Vermont today at Harris Hill Ski Jump that has been here since 1922. 90-some years later, we're hosting another world-class event with jumpers from all over the world that have flown across the ocean to be here, kids from all over the United States to be here, and we're welcoming all of them that they come and share the spirit of this special hill. And it was my father, Fred Harris, that envisioned this hill and had it built in 1922-23 when they started this event. Currently I am standing at the registration shed, we call it, and I'm at the bottom of the landing hill on the outrun. The hill is up, the in-run is up the hill, and they take the jumpers up, and this is a great place to watch them fly off the in-run. And you can see from the conditions of this hill and all of the time and effort that went into it, it will be a world-class event today, as it was 90 years ago. I mean, amazing, 90 years later, another world-class event.
I think attendance, actually, I think we can credit the wonderful publicity. There is a chance that the trophy will be retired this year. I mean, we have Chris Lamb is competing. He has 2 legs on the trophy, and were he to win today, he would retire the trophy. So I think that's helped also. And the weather is perfect for us today.
Let's see what we can do now. Beautiful, look at that. That's Luke Daniels there. He's got one going. Wow. Take Yep, that's Zach. That signature V-style. Beautiful looking ride. Nice form there. Good takeoff there. You can tell he got a lot of effect and a nice run. Wow, he's got some height. Beautiful ride. This is number 26, Will Rose from the UOP Sports Club in Park City, Utah. Oh. And Alex Inzam from Ski Club Gardenia. Beautiful ride. Amazing. The Italian.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next 5 days, and he'll take a look at some local high school sports.
Thanks, Rose. Tomorrow we're expecting 2 to 4 inches of snow, so be cautious when driving. Highs will be in the 30s with a low of 19 degrees. Wednesday we'll be getting some mixed precipitation with a high of 42 degrees and lows in the 20s. Thursday we'll have highs in the 40s with a low of 31 degrees. Friday we're expecting rain, so make sure to bring an umbrella out with you. Temperatures will rise up to 47 degrees and down to the 20s. Saturday will be cloudy with highs in the 40s and a low of 24 degrees. If If you're in the Rutland, Vermont area this week, head on over to the Paramount Theater for a unique percussion show by the international group called Stomp. Shows begin at 7:30 p.m. and play tomorrow and Wednesday. And now let's look at some local high school sports games that are happening tomorrow. Don't forget the Stevens vs. Fall Mountain game. This boys basketball game will take place at the Fall Mountain Gym at 6:30 p.m. Lebanon will play against John Stark tomorrow at Lebanon's Gym, also at 6:30 p.m. Lastly, Sunapee and Newport will clash in a rivalry game. Come watch the action in the Newport Gym at 5:30 p.m. Now let's turn to the latest results in the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. In first place is Germany with 7 golds. In second place is Netherlands with 5 golds. In third place is Norway with 5 golds. And Switzerland is in 4th place with 5 golds. Currently, the United States is in 7th place with 4 gold medals.